Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. I am so honored and happy to be here. Being a parent and having weeks and weekdays and weekday evenings, I know how hard it is for you parents to be here and even you kids. My kids, we have homework, Dad, we can't go. There's so much pressure. We got to do our homework. So thank you, each of you, for coming. And I want to very much respect your time and honor your time. And as Patrick said, I come here as a researcher, somebody who gets to research these issues of why does family matter, why does marriage matter, and a lot of the work that I've been doing in the last 15 years has been on the issue of gender, because gender is the big question in the family now. And the issue of same-sex marriage and same-sex parenting and things like that is not so much about the sexual parts of those, but the issue of gender. What is male and female? Does it matter? Does it make a difference? And how do we know what male and female actually are and the significance among them? Let me get something. My clicker and my book. As Patrick said, what I'm going to be speaking on tonight is primarily from this book, Secure Daughters, Confident Sons. And it is a research book, but also a very practical book, speaking to the two types of parents that we have. They come in two models, male parents, female parents. And if you think all the way back to biology class, male and female parents have a very special role in creating the next generation of the only two models of humans that we have, male and female. And so before I get into it, I just want to say my wife Jackie and I, we have been married about 33 years. After about 25 years, you just kind of lose track until you get to the 50th, and you think somebody will remind you of what that anniversary will be. But we have 5 kids. They are from 9th grade up to, we have a 21-year-old, and we have boy and girl twins that are 19. So that's where my little guy comes in there. My son is not a sports guy. He doesn't like to get dirty, doesn't like to get sweaty. He's more of an artist. He's more of a thinker. He's more of a creative guy. I am not so much a sports guy either. I grew up surfing, I grew up skateboarding, and that's about the only sports that I got into. So as I'm talking about what it means to be male and female, I want you to know that I am not the typical male, nor is my son the typical male. And as I'm talking about the nature of fathers and mothers, boys and girls, keep this in your mind as I'm saying. It is girls tend to be this way, women tend to be this way, and boys and men tend to be another way. It doesn't mean, and one of the big motivators for me writing this book was I am really against the idea of this is how boys are and this is how girls are. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So keep that in mind as we're going through this. Oh, I got to turn it on, just like Patrick said. I love New Yorker cartoons, and this is one that I have up in my office at work. You have this kind of Greenwich Village hipster couple, and they come up to this little family. Oh, cute, what are they for? And what I love that is, kind of the antinatality view in life, but it's also, what are they for? Those two little creatures, the boy and the girl, what are they for? They're for raising into good men and women. That is really the human function. What do we do with these little kids? When we look back on our time, our vocation of parenting, one of the things we want to think of is, I turned Schaefer, my son, into a good man. My wife helped him become a good man. My 4 girls, I helped them become good women. My wife did the same. Now we think about, what does it mean to be a good woman? What does it mean to be a good man? What it means to be a good woman is more easily answered than it is, what does it mean to be a good man? That question, what does it mean to be a good man, is, I purport, one of the most confusing questions that we have in our culture today. Anybody seeking to answer that will come up with lots of different answers, and very, very few people will feel confident about their answer there. That goes back to the nature of gender. That is being attacked today, and not just by the gay and lesbian agenda and same-sex. I mean, we have just lost the idea of what it means to be a good man and how we raise boys to be good men. And I'll explain to you why that's not as true for women. So, they're certainly cute, and what are they for? They are for raising into good men and good women, because guess what? Every culture needs good men and good women. That's why it's important to have the babies, and that's why it's important to raise them. This is a good New Yorker cartoon as well. And what I love about the New Yorker, certainly not this conservative publication, but sometimes their jokes and their cartoons are just like right on. This one I love. The CEO speaking to one of his employees. Yes, we're very fortunate to be blessed with one of each. And so you've got his wife's picture there, certainly, and you've got 4. Obviously, the joke is, we all know that there's only 2 kinds of kids. We've been blessed with one of each. And the New Yorker wants us to know that all this talk about there's different kinds of genders, we can put that in a cartoon and we can laugh about it. Another one, New Yorker cartoon that I've got, which is great, on the same issue, I cut these kind of things out, is a man and a wife in bed. They're waking up in the morning, he's got, his stubble, and the wife is saying to the husband, how would you like it if I woke you up every morning looking for sex? Think about it, okay? There is a difference between male and female, right? There is a male nature and there is a female nature. As much as we would like to say, oh, no, we're all just human beings, can't we be seen as human beings? There are male and female natures. And they are broad, but they're also very specific as well. Male and female, is male and female even a thing? When I go speak on college campuses, that is one of the most contentious things I can say, is that male and female are different, that they're unique, and they both need one another. If I'm on a secular campus, the audience will boo and hiss me. Seriously. Because on campuses today, there are few things that you can say that are more contentious than that men and women are different. When I say men and women are different, what do a lot of the students in the audience hear? Curiously, they hear men are better than women. To which I like to explain, okay, Italian restaurants are different than sushi restaurants. Well, why do you say Italian is better? I didn't say they're better, they're different, they're unique. And the thing about it is, women are very powerful beings. And they're very powerful beings because they are women and not because they are men. We're going to look at that in just a minute. So where do we get this idea that different means one has to be better than the other? We don't live that way in any other part of life. Well, I'm Polish, you're Argentinian. Well, why do you think Polish is better? No, you're just different. And there are good and unique things about each. This is a big thing. There are 101 ways to be a good male or a good female. Yet we can still speak objectively and truthfully about what it means to be male and female. And when I say there's 101 ways to be a good man or a good woman there are. Think about this. How many of you guys, your son comes to you and he says, Dad, I am crazy serious about ballet. I want to be the greatest ballet dancer in the world. Very few of you are like, all right, that's my boy. But when you do that, when your son does that, you can say, let me introduce you to somebody who is a guy and rocks at ballet. His name is Mikhail Baryshnikov. Okay? That's what I'm saying is there are ways to do seemingly feminine things in very masculine ways. Emerald, the cook. You have your son who wants to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Dads start freaking out. You know what? Tell Emerald that he's a girly man, right? Same thing with women. There was a show, you ladies will know this, it hasn't been on, but it's called Trading Spaces. Do you remember that show where friends would, go to the other's house and decorate their house? Do you remember one of the carpenters on there? Her name was Amy Wynn, and she was one of the carpenters. Beautiful girl, but she could rock at carpentry. Nobody looks at Amy Wynn and says, you know what, honey, you just need to get back in the kitchen. You need to start acting more like a woman. People are like, you know what, she rocks. And she didn't have to try to be like a guy to be the carpenter that she is. We can be authentically male and female and not fit necessarily in boxes. But at the same time, that does not mean that we can't speak meaningfully about what it means to be male and female. We were talking at dinner tonight, Patrick and I say this all the time. If I'm your anthropology professor and we're going to go somewhere in the world and see cultures that are dramatically different than we are, we land there, you don't recognize the food they eat, the way they cook it, the huts that they live in, the clothes that they wear, things like that. But you are going to understand this. You're going to find out that there are two types of people. They're male and female. There's not going to be a third option or a fourth option. And even though the male and female are going to be doing different things, wearing different clothes, having different practices, none of you are going to say, okay, my mind is blown. Tell me which ones are the males, which ones are the females. Because there is an essence. There's a human essence to what it means to be male and female. And that is universally true. Evolutionary biologists, secularists, even recognize that is true. And it's found in all cultures at all times. God created them male and female, but even the secularists, the evolutionists, recognize that there is an inherent male and female nature. So I want to lay that foundation as we get into this. And as I wrote this book, I wanted to discover as a Christian, how do we speak truthfully and accurately about the universal male nature rather than just the male and female nature in our neighborhood, in our community? We can tend to think, well, a good man, he hunts, he is sports-minded, he plays football, he does these kinds of things. Women, they're fashionable and they do that kind of stuff. The question is, what about the very poor Chinese rice farmer? How do we describe his masculinity? If it's not, he doesn't kayak, he can't kayak, I guess he can't be a man, No, there is this different kind of level of what it means to be a male and a female. What it means to take little boys and little girls and to take them into womanhood and manhood. And so that's where I'm wanting to come from, is what is universally human. And that's key. Okay, if there is not a male and female nature, then his shtick makes no sense whatsoever. Think about that. And he's so fantastic. When you see him on David Letterman or, it's his shtick. He knows exactly what he's doing. But he does it because, you know what? I'm not going to be the guy, I'm not going to be the woman, I'm just going to be Richard. Friend of mine, many years ago, he took his family to Venice. And they're walking over this bridge, and they see this guy dressed in white pants, he's just drinking a water bottle. It's Richard Simmons. And they go down and talk to him, and he's just like this, oh, he takes pictures with the mother and the daughters and things like that. But people like Richard show us that, you know what, we laugh at him, we kind of have a curiosity about him because we know that he is just kind of this odd sort of middle thing. It's interesting that when you look at even transgender folks, Bruce Jenner, they will go from very much man to even kind of a hyper woman. You look at the Vogue cover, right? In fact, there's many women who are like, you know, she's becoming a product, an object. But you see that, you know, there's this clear distinction and polar binary idea, and you see it everywhere, of male and female. So, this is the human process. We find it everywhere. Men and women raise boys and girls to be good men and good women. Okay? That is the human life cycle. That is for us as adults. We are satisfied, we are contented. When we look back at our lives, we may be proud, you know what, I raised a daughter who's a marine biologist and she's a leader in her field. I raised a son who is a very successful banker. He started all kinds of businesses. But the main thing that we will do is, you know what, I raised my boy and he's a good man. I raised my daughter and she's a good woman. That's significant. And again, that's the human process. I love this. There's a scene from Jerry Maguire. We have Renee Zellweger and her little boy, cute little boy. She is talking to somebody and she says, all my friends are out trying to get a man, trying to keep a man. Me, I'm trying to raise a man. As we see in movies sometimes, just such a profound statement. Her job, she recognizes, is to take this little boy by herself as a single woman and turn him into a man. She recognizes that there's particular struggles there. She doesn't have time for this because she's so busy doing this. And I want to talk about, as we go on tonight, I want to talk specifically to single parents in how you can, and how some of these things are a struggle to you, you know, but how you can also succeed at some of them uniquely in your role as a single parent. Okay, so yet how do we know what makes a boy and a girl a girl? That is the big question. Because we have to answer that question, what is a boy, what is a girl, and if we're going to raise them to be good men and good women. So I want to start by taking the boy and the girl, and what is it that makes a boy, what is it that makes a girl, and then I want to go on to say what is it that a boy needs from his parents and what is it that a girl needs. So we're going to start now just looking at what makes a boy a man and what is the male nature. And so when I was getting ready to write this book, I thought about that. And what is the universal male nature? And from the biblical perspective, how do we know about that? Well, I'll be honest with you, in the scriptures, there's not a real clear answer to that. The scriptures speak about male and female relative to church roles and church duties, but it really doesn't say a lot about men should act this way, women should act this way. So what you've got to do is go to natural design. What is it that God placed in us as human beings, either as male and female? And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this particular thread going through because you're going to be able to see it when I kind of point it out to you. But think about when any human being comes into the world, there is a question that we ask if we don't already know, even before we ask, is it healthy? What's that question? No, we ask, I wonder what they'll be when they grow up. No, it's, is it a boy or a girl? That is not just a cultural thing. Well, we do that because our culture expects us to do that. We do that because that is the first way that we identify with this little creature, right? And how do we tell that it is a boy or a girl? You can tell by the shape of their face. No. You have to go south and look, okay? Now, we need to understand that how we determine that's not just a little plug-on piece, right? It's not just a Mr. Potato Head kind of piece. In fact, I don't know if I was able to tell you this. I've got another slide that I typically don't show, and this explains why. Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head are in the bathroom, in the bedroom. Mrs. Potato Head is in bed. She looks like she's anticipating. And Mr. Potato Head is going through a box, and I can't find it. It was here yesterday. Okay? That is not how we are as human beings. We are integrated. That little thing that indicates whether you have a boy or a girl is connected in with a system, and it's integrated. And what that thing, how that determines how we grow, our interests, our reproduction, who we are as people, it has significant influence beyond just the kind of obvious. Okay? So keep that in mind as I'm going through some of these indicators. And you may think, oh my goodness, he's trying to sexualize my little 5-year-old boy. Well, you already did that when you said, oh, he's a boy, she's a girl, you know. Again, there's this system, there's this integration, there's this natural design that God put in each one of us. So I'm going to go through a number of these. Some of these I'll comment on more than others. Some I'll move through quite quickly. Think about, again, that little guy, okay? He is externally oriented. His essence points outward, okay? He is made for the world. The boy has to go out and find his objective somewhere, okay? Think about this phrase, go west, young woman. No, it's go west, young man. The man has to find his being, his essence, his worth out there. That's where we talk about, you know what? He went out and found his fortune. That's just not a coincidence. Now, as we'll talk about girls are receptive. Their life is found more within themselves. Now, there are 600,000 ways of which that is true. The boy is out there. We're going to talk about that. He has to find himself beyond himself. But that's one of the first things. The man is outward oriented. The woman is inward oriented. He has to deliver the goods. Think about that. He, in a particular act that brings forth the next generation of humanity, it goes out. Okay? He has to deliver. He has to bring the goods. That is true of young boys. They want to complete the task. They want to do good. They want to make a difference in the world. He is outward oriented. It's interesting. Think about your little boy. In my day, it was building with Lincoln logs. Thankfully, they're still using Legos, building a fort in the backyard. Your son is working on something, and he is into it, and you can't believe how many hours he has been quietly working on it. It's true with video games, too, today. Call your son to dinner. Oh, good, dinner's here. If he's not doing anything, that will be his answer. If he is doing something, just a minute, Mom. Just a minute, Mom. And then finally you have to go, and pull him away from what he is doing. That is it. He has to see it through. Try to pull him away from it. It's interesting, in our home, I mop the floors. I can be a grouch when I'm mopping the floors and people get in my way, because here I start out, there's the end, do not get in my way. I mean, I have to deliver the goods, and it's a weird thing. I'll find myself being crabby that way, but that's what it is about. Women, understand that about your son. Fathers, understand that about your sons. He looks for the next thing. It's interesting, again, in that very special relationship, okay, after he's delivered the goods, he's like, okay, I wonder what's on TV. Maybe a sandwich might be nice. I mean, boys don't cuddle in that sense. They have to be taught to cuddle. He finishes the Lego blocks. He finishes what he's doing. He doesn't just sit there and linger over it and, oh my goodness, isn't that nice? He's proud of it, and he'll tell you about it, but he's on to the next thing. Men are that way. Boys are that way. They want to know what's next. Think about men who go to a store, to Walmart, to Target, to get something. They have their list, boom, 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 boom. Deliver the goods. We're not going to linger. They don't browse, Oh, this is nice over here. It is. We're in the store. Let's see how quickly we can get out of here. Okay? And he's got his list. He's looking for the next thing. It is competitive to him to even think about how he can get it done. Think about traveling. Oh, we made good time. The next mile, the next mile, the next mile. I think about that sometimes, even when I've got time to travel. I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop and see some things. I never do, because it's like, I don't want to lose time. You got all kinds of time, but there's that competitiveness that is just within you. That's true in your boy too. He's an opportunist. The boy has to, being outward oriented, he has to go out and seek his opportunity. That's in business, that's in making new friends, it's in trying out in sports, it's in a number of things. It's in approaching the girl. In every single human culture, the man approaches the girl. He has to take the initiative. He could get shot down, he could get rejected, he could embarrass himself, but if he's going to get anywhere in life, he has to make the first move, he has to seek the opportunity, and he has to step up and do it. He has to step up to the plate and swing the bat. You see that represents just a lot of truths and realities about what the young man must do. My wife and I grew up as a skater, like I said. We met in high school. I did not have that kind of confidence to approach girls. Some of my buddies like Glenn, Jackie likes you. She really likes you. Oh no, she doesn't like me. If you ask her out, she'll say yes. Seriously, she told me that. I wasn't willing to take the chance. I had to take the chance. So I waited for a safe chance, and it worked out. But see, boys have to have that kind of confidence. Girls, not so much. Again, he has to take chances. He has to risk. Think about car insurance for men and women. Men and women are equal. Men and women are the same. Shouldn't their car insurance premiums be the same? See? Men are chance takers. There is a reason that Evel Knievel from my generation was a dude, okay? There are women who do that kind of things, but they're not as likely to do those kinds of things. My son, he's a very, very, very careful driver. He's a good driver. But men are more likely to want to take chances, and the very objective insurance people know that to be the case. So your son is a chance taker. He takes risks. He has to be able to do that. And mom and dad need to work together, because mom is more likely to say, you know what? Let's let him go for it. Let's let him risk his life. No, she's, be careful, watch out. Dad is more likely, you know what? Climb up another limb. Ride your bike a little faster. Why don't you set up a ramp and you can jump? We used to do that when I was a kid. You know, moms and dads are different that way, but moms and dads need to work in balance to say, okay, this is safe, and this is calculated risk rather than crazy risk. I remember my brother-in-law and Jackie's sister, when his little boys were little, he wanted them to be able to go up on the roof with him and clean off the roof. They were 3 years old, okay? Like, Mark, not a good idea. Well, I don't want to raise babies, you know? Well, maybe when they're 6, you know, that's another sort of thing. So husband and wife, man and woman, mother, father, they have to work a balance out. Mothers cannot be too controlling, but fathers cannot be too, you know, oh, let them try it. They need to work together. But boys need to be able to have that because they learn confidence in being able to take safe, calculated risks. A boy needs to hear from his dad, you can do it. Another step up, another limb up, you can do it. Hit the ball a little bit harder, you can do it. Punch a little bit harder, you can do it. Boys need to hear that. Like I said earlier with the opportunism, he needs to show initiative. Men, boys make things happen. You think about the very tragic shootings that we've had. You think about 9/11. It's the men who step up or should step up and take control of the situation. You think about at home. You're laying in bed with your spouse. I hear a noise. And the wife's like, go down and check it out. The man doesn't say, you know what, today the sexes are equal. I did it last time, why don't you do it? You know, as deeply as we may buy into that philosophy, we know that the man is the one to take the initiative. Again, that's true of the sexual union between human beings, and that's true of every single human culture. He has to take the initiative, but he does it with the direction and the invitation and the cues of the woman, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the man takes initiative. This is one definition that I have in the book of what it means to be a good man. A good man learns to do the thing that needs to be done at the time it needs to be done in the way it needs to be done. Now, women do that, but men do it in the more dangerous sense of, you know what, nobody wants to do this, but the man is the one that needs to step up and make the difference. In this situation, at this time, I need to be the guy that shows up. That is true for the guy. He's active as well. Think about that again in that relationship. It's the man that brings the action. It's the man that even brings the aggression. That's true of your little boy. Why won't he just sit down? Why won't he just settle down? It's not in his nature to want to sit down and settle down. Again, remember this first thing? He is oriented to the world. He wants to be here, 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 all at the same time. Now, that little boy, as well as every little boy, needs to settle down and learn to settle down. And, you know, he can't run crazy wherever. But we do need to understand that we take that basic male nature and we control it. That's what parenting is. You don't thwart it, you don't deny it, you don't excuse it, but you do have to control it. You have to socialize it, if you will. Take that energy, take that excitement, take that power and try to point it into kind of pro-social sort of ways. The boy is active. He needs to be active. But he also needs to be controlled. There are many, and you'll see it, where you'll have these parents and the kids going nuts and, well, he's a boy. Just let him be a boy. You know what? No, not in here, you know. Take it out to the playground. Boys need to learn how to be boys, but they also need to learn how to be gentlemen as well. And there's not a conflict between those two things necessarily. I want to say that about gentlemanliness. Gentlemen exist solely and only because women exist. Manners exist solely and only because women exist. Guys, when they're by themselves, they'll just do whatever. They make funny noises. They, coming out of different ends of them, right? And when they're just with their guys, they don't apologize or, oh, excuse me. They're just guys. But it's interesting that even on a construction site, okay, the guys are talking crude. A woman walks in, and even the crude guy will say to you, hey, a lady's here. Don't talk like that. Women, the presence of women dictate that we behave ourselves, that we act like gentlemen, that we don't act like savages. We don't drink milk out of the milk carton. Guys living together, they'll tend to do that, and they don't give each other really a beef about that. Last, he competes for dominance. The boy wants to be dominant, and not just in a sports way or not just in a physical way, but he wants to be the best. My son Schaefer, he is a photographer. He wants to be the best photographer. He wants to beat the other guys that are photographers as well. Women, not so much. They want to do a good job. They want to make pictures that are beautiful or powerful, but they're not thinking competitively. Men think competitively, and that's a good thing. Finally, he's mechanical. He thinks mechanically. He thinks systematically. The next thing. What's the next thing that you do? Boys are more inclined to be that way. What makes a girl a woman? What is the female nature? Again, she's receptive. She takes into herself. She draws people into her orbit. And there are 101 ways in which that is true. You think about, I see this with my own girls. In the fifth grade teachers should get duty battle pay because of the girls. They draw them into themselves, but because they are so relational, they have so much conflict. Okay? They want to draw in everybody that they can, but there's traffic problems there, and they get their feelings hurt. Guys, boys, they'll hurt one another's feelings. They'll punch each other, something, and they're fine and they're done. Girls are not that same way. Girls draw into themselves. Way to exhibit that is think about moms and dads. You have a baby, and you see that baby flying up into the air, okay? The baby goes up into the air, they're scared to death, they come down, and they start giggling. Do men and women, mothers and fathers, equally throw babies in the air? No. Why is it just in our culture that men, uncles and grandfathers, are the ones that typically throw the kids in the air? It's not just in our culture. I've traveled all around the world. You see it everywhere. Women take their babies and hold them. The most a woman will do generally is maybe bounce the child on her knee, Women hold close. Children need that. They feel secure. They feel safe. I like hanging out with mom. But when dad throws them, and this is wonderful, you see that look in the kid's eye? They can't breathe. They come down into dad's arms. What do they do if they can talk? Again, they love that. What they're learning is it's fun to take chances. It's fun to be scared. And it was scary, but now I'm in dad's arms, and I want him to do it again. One builds confidence at risk-taking. Remember the risk-taking thing? Mother's way of being receptive builds confidence and security. Children need both of those things. But notice that. Try to find a mother throwing her child. You'll find it, but it is very, very rare. Think about this as well. You're in a restaurant and you hear behind you this baby just giggling hysterically. It's usually sometimes a grandpa, making funny faces, stimulating the child and getting that child to laugh. Men are going to be more physically stimulated out there in the world in a big way. Fathers encourage the development of large motor skills. Mothers, fine motor skills because they're more relational. They're more, bringing the child in. So that's true of girls, but it's also true of women as well. She is confidently enticing. She is interested in bringing what she is interested into herself. confidently enticing. Ladies, you know this. I've noticed that women will use a derogatory word for a loose woman more than men will. Because women judge in a good way. You know what? Here's how a lady looks. With a tilt of her head, she'll twirl her hair. She'll communicate that she's interested in you, okay? Very subtly. For the girl who's like, oh, you're so cute, the other ladies are like, dial it back, sister, It's not just another way of Women have been doing this for millennia, letting out the message that, I'm kind of interested in you, but it's very subtle. And it's either peers like my buddies with Jackie or other girls that like me is like, dude, she's so into you. No, she's not. Have you been paying attention? No. Do you see how she talks to you? Do you see how, she does her hair? There's that language that ladies communicate. Those that are a little more overt, again, ladies, we don't call them ladies, And it's likely the other women who will not call them ladies. So the woman, she's drawing to herself, and she does it confidently, but she does it in a very subtle kind of way that is actually quite powerful. It really is what makes the world go. Because every one of us guys who ever connected with a woman, we got there because we were able to read those signals, and she was able to give those signals, okay? It's a human universal. She seeks security. Women, and this is interesting, I will tell you the truth. Jackie and I, we have been going through some things in our 33rd year of marriage and for quite a few years. And the counselor, this is an amazing thing because you think 30 years of marriage, 25 years of marriage, you guys know this, like you just have it down. But you don't. You make mistakes, you get things wrong. And one of the things that I learned just recently is a counselor said, Glenn, Jackie's greatest human need is for security, to know that she will be taken care of and that she's safe. To which she knows that. Well, Glenn, she doesn't, You can't make that determination for her. Women want security. When I was writing this book, and this is how dense I am, I would ask all kinds of women, Christian women, secular women, very professionally successful women. I'd say respond to this statement. A woman is looking for a man to take care of her. And as I would ask successful secular women that, I would expect just to be yelled at. But they would say, no, that's true. And it's not that these women can't take care of themselves. They're rocking the world in their careers, making more money than they need to make, but they want a man to go before them, to carry the load, to protect them. And even people like me need to learn that. Women want security. And men should be able to give security, but even as they get older, they need to learn that. She is modest. It's interesting that modesty is a human universal nature. And we think about National Geographic, We see these women like, oh my goodness, they are not modest. All they just wear is, just something around their waist. But in every one of those cultures, there is a process of modesty. They will not change their skirt in front of other people. When they come to that time in the month, they will protect themselves and protect themselves from other people, and they will be shamed if they do particular things apart from what women in that culture do. Every woman, every culture, and the women created it. It's not the men who created. The women create this structure of what it means to be modest, of what proper women do and don't do. So it can be very different in different cultures, but every culture has a model and a rule for modesty. She's caring and she's caregiving. It's interesting, the I don't want to call them the hippies, but in the 70s, the kind of free-thinking people, well, we're going to raise our kids and we're going to give our kids gender-neutral toys. What these people found out was you give Sarah her fire truck, and she takes the fire truck and wraps it up and puts it to bed. And you're like, where did she get this from? And those parents know they didn't get it from us. They didn't get it from all the gender-specific shows that we've let the children watch. It is wired within them. Boys, you give them little mops for the kitchen set, little, brooms. Guess what? They turn them into swords. They turn them into guns. It's just what they do. Girls are caregiving. Again, they want to take in. They're more empathetic than men are. This has been an interesting thing for Jackie and I as we were raising the kids, that our kids would get hurt, they'd fall down, they'd something would happen to them, and I would just kind of watch them. They'll be okay, they'll get up. Jackie's like, how can you be so hard-hearted? Get the child, they're hurt, they need you. And I can, kind of read from those cries. You know what? Yes, they're screaming their head off. Okay, I go to them. The other is, they kind of just, bruised their knee or did something like that. They're going to be okay. Men are more likely to be moderated that way. Women are more likely, you know what? They need me. I'm going to go there. I'm going to be there. Kids need both of those things. What time is it, Patrick? 8 o'clock. Okay, good. We're doing great. The woman seeks equity. The girl wants everything to be fair. And that's good. Is everybody being taken care of? Is everybody being equal? The guy, again, is more competitive. If things aren't equal, it's because that guy's not stepping up and competing, and I'm better, and it's better to be better, Sorry for you. That is... girls are going to be more like that, and they're going to be more that way with their own children. And that's very significant. That's important. This goes back up to she's confidently enticing. She wields soft power to transform the culture. Women change the culture in which they are a part of, even when they don't know that they are. Students, the novel Lord of the Flies, who can tell me what that book is about? Students, come on. See, the men need to take the initiative here, right? Lord of the Flies, of course, is this novel about these kids from this great prep school, and their plane crashes on this island, and the adults died in the crash, and it's just the boys. And it turns into Thomas Hobbes' state of nature. They're mean to each other, they abuse one another, they try to control and overpower one another. That book, most people say that book is a book about human nature. It is a book about male nature. If there had been one cute girl on that island, it would have changed the dynamics completely. Because all the guys would have been interested in appealing to her, and the bullies, guys think, well, you know what, she'll like it if I'm tough. She'll like it if I beat up the nerdy kids. The girl's like, you know what, I don't like that. You're a bully. You're mean. Okay? The other boys are going to realize, okay, don't be like that guy. When he beats this kid up, who was the little boy in there whose glasses broke? Piggy. Piggy? Yeah. Okay? She, seeking equity, is going to be the caregiver to Piggy. The other boys are going to go, okay, she likes it when we stand up for the oppressed. Okay? Without doing anything, without raising her voice, without even being aware of what she's doing, she transforms culture. The woman is the most powerful dynamic in any culture. One, because they say yes or no to the man, and because they control the behavior of the man based on what they give the green light to and what they give the red light to. Folks, you can think about that till the rest of your days and not exhaust the reality there. And that is true in every single human culture. She lingers, she's relational. Again, remember the guy goes on to the next thing. The woman, she likes to cuddle, okay? And that's not just physically. One day I came home from work and I walked right in and Jackie had rearranged the living room. I told Patrick, he said, what does Jackie like to do? And she likes to rearrange the living room. Get new furniture, kind of change things out. Well, I walked in one day, and sometimes, to be honest with you, I'm like, the living room was great like it was, okay? It was fine, just as long as we keep it relatively clean. I'm happy. Well, I walked in that day, and it was cool. It was fantastic what she did. I walked in, I recognized that, like, this is awesome. She goes, Glenn, what do you think? I rearranged the living room today. I go, it looks great. And I walked upstairs and I changed my clothes. Okay, guys, what's the problem? Okay, she comes up and she is clearly upset with something. And guys, I'm like, I complimented you. What was wrong with that? Okay, she wanted to linger. She wanted to cuddle, if you will. Because she asked me, do you like the lamp here or do you like it? Oh, it looks great there, just like you did it. See, she wanted to process it with me. I learned later. Okay? And you're just like, you nailed it. See, with a boy, it's, you know what, son? That is awesome. High five, fist bump. They're good. The girls, they want to talk about it. And you know what? That's important. Boys need to learn how to cuddle, if you will. To go to museums, to go to things and go, you know what? Let's just stand here and look at this, right? Let's take this in. Boys need to learn that. Girls need to be able to teach them to do that. So, what do boys need from their mothers and fathers? He yearns to make a difference. Mothers and fathers have to help them make a difference, to impact the world. Again, he's outward oriented. So when your son wants to go out into the world and make a difference, I remember when I was a teenager, I got this idea. I wanted to write to prisoners. I thought, I can't go visit prisoners, but I can start like just a letter writing thing. I can write letters, I can put them in the mail, and I can send, and think about what those prisoners would, like to get a letter, I wanted to make a difference. Girls can do that too, and that was a little different for me because boys are more like, you know what, I want to go out and build something. I want to go out and create something. The big companies that we have, the cities that we have, the structures that we have, all throughout history, the conquest, men initiated those things. And not because they kept the women from doing them, but because that's the male nature. To look on the horizon and think, what's beyond that? How can I seek that out? Your boy is that way. And so you've got to encourage that, but you've also got to say, you know what, son, let's take it back a little bit and why don't we try this? He wants to save the world. He wants to make a difference. He wants to be the guy on the scene that saves the day. You think about superheroes. Girls, not as much into superheroes because they will like them, but they don't imagine, they don't get caught up in like, man, I wish I was that guy. I flew into John Wayne Airport, the big, great, boys, just even that statue is, you know what? He got it done. He's not a macho man. When there are ladies around, you know what? John Wayne was able to act right. Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, not so much, right? But you think about what man would you like to have his shoes, his boots under your bed? Not Dirty Harry so much, more somebody like John Wayne who he'll take control. He does what he needs to do, but he's a gentleman. He knows how to act like a man. but he also wants to destroy the world. Okay? Girls don't blow things up. You ask any boy, the family is all around like, hey boys, you want to go out in the backyard and blow up, something? There may be one boy, and the other boys will wonder, but there's not one boy who's going to, I'll catch you later. Yeah, let's go do that. No girl ever asks the question, I wonder what would happen if, right? Boys ask that question, and it typically has to do with demolition. It's interesting, I love this in high schools. One of the ways that they'll raise money is they'll bring this old jalopy in. You take sledgehammers and you just cream the car. There are going to be women, girls who will do that. But it's more likely the guy who gets an adrenaline rush. The girls are like, you know what, yeah, I'll go along, I'll do that. There's not that drive within her to I'm just going to cream that thing. That's one of the things I liked about baseball, is just try to knock the cover off that ball. Women, not so much that way. Men want to destroy things. You think about Tool Time, that show. Just demo, even that word. We're going to come over, I need some guys to come over and demo out my basement. Who's with me, We want to destroy things. We want to blow things up. Boys want to do that. But they need to learn that there's a place and time, right? Sometimes it's good to blow things up. Sometimes it's safe to blow things up. Sometimes not so much. Boy needs to know that he's smart. And even as I say, do girls need to know that they're smart? They do. And I will tell my girls, you are so smart. But if they are never told that they're smart, they do not, and not to tell them that they're stupid, but if they are never told that, they are going to have less personal damage than a boy is going to have. And it's interesting that in this anthropological research of the universal human nature, we find that boys tend to have more self-confidence about their academic and intellectual ability, even when they don't do well at school themselves. They will have a higher appraisal of themselves because they need that. They will tell themselves, you know what, I'm pretty smart, even when they're not so smart. They need that, so they'll tell themselves. And they need to have that backed up within them. Boy needs to see his body develop in a different way than a girl does. A girl needs to see her body develop, but a boy needs to see the physicality of it, to see his chest grow, to just see things happen. I won't go into a lot of detail there, but that is very important. For me, growing up, I was a late bloomer in that way, and it freaked me out to have to go to PE and change in front of other boys. Girls are going to be more modest, but for boys who have to change in front of each other, that matters. That matters to them. And I think boys need to hear from their dads, well, you're filling out, look at you. Even if they're not, find the thing about them that is changing and point that out. You know what? You're becoming a man. Moms can do that too. He needs to be innovative. Think about this. How many girls have ever said, maybe back when I was growing up, oh good, MacGyver's almost on, okay? Or the A-Team is almost on. If they do, it's for a different reason, okay? Right? I just want to watch MacGyver. Guys are like, okay, I want to see how he's going to get out of the next situation. James Bond, okay? We love that kind of thing to see how is that guy going to be innovative to get himself out of that situation. But boys also, Thomas Edison, other inventors, how did they do that? How did they figure that out? Boys want to go through that process and think, how do we innovate? How do we make things happen? How do we make a difference in the world through innovating? Businesses. This is the other thing that I said. They need to know what to do when it's needed. A man does the right thing at the right time in the right way. Again, you have a situation as radical as somebody comes in shooting. The man, if he was not able to do something, he is going to more likely feel bad about himself. I should have done something. Women, not so much. He is going to be more inclined to run to danger than the woman is. And there is no society that says, well, women should be able to run to danger just as much as men should. When a man says that, we know he's not a very good man. Men protect women. And women want to be protected, not because they're weak, not because they can't do it, but because they want to be taken care of. You know what? When I leave home, when Schaefer was little, it's, you're the man of the house, you take care of things. You know, that's important for Schaefer to learn and to know. But they also need discipline. They need to take that male energy and they need to focus it. It's interesting that you can see little boys, and I think about this like the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. You'll see a little boy who, the kids are down in the ball pit and he just comes in and just jumps in the middle of it, doesn't care who's down there. He is a little boy who typically does not have a father who's very engaged with him, because it's typically fathers who say, son, pull him by the shirt, pull him out, do not jump on kids. You know what? If you're going to go for it, you need to make sure that you be mindful of others and don't hurt other kids. That kid learns. If he doesn't have that, he's just going to be the one that jumps in, clueless, mindless. Now, if he jumps in and goes for it, swan dives into the balls, and there's nobody under that, Dad's like, way to go. But he's also going to correct the kid if he's not mindful and careful to other people. Again, a good man watches out and cares for and protects other people. And this is probably most important of all. The boy needs to have the good called out of him. And that can really only be done by other men. I think I've got it later on in the talk. Yeah, I do, so I won't go into it now. But a boy needs to have the good called out of him. He needs to have it identified. You know what, son, when you did that, that was amazing, the way you stepped up and did that. You do that to a girl and she's going to like that. You do that to a boy and that benefit is multiplied a zillion times. And for other men to call that out in them. Women can do that. Now for single moms can do that too. But what they should do is they should identify it with another man. If the young boy has a good relationship with his dad who's gone, either deceased or, divorced and he's not around, say, you know what, your dad would have been so proud of you today. Your dad would have been so proud of the way you took control of that. Now, if the dad is just taken off and just is not a good dad, the son will think, you know what, I don't care what he thinks about me, okay, in an anger sort of way. That communicates how important dad is. But if he does have the respect of his dad and he respects his, that's going to mean a lot. You could, if dad's not the one, say grandpa or say Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe, I remember growing up with him, he did that kind of thing and you're just like him. If that's good, that's going to mean the world. You mean it? I'm like Uncle Joe? Or I'm like Grandpa? That's huge, huge, huge. Okay. He needs to be honorable. That's the last one. Okay, what do boys need? Boys need the apron strings clipped to be separated from the comfort and protection of mom. Cut the apron strings, that is a phrase for a purpose, okay? Little boys, it's fine for them. Every boy starts out being a mama's boy, okay? They need to be a mama's boy. You know what? Mom's the one who gives them security, comfort, encouragement. But they come to a place where they've got to have that separation, where the mom kind of pushes the boy away toward the father. Again, that's what I just said about, even if the father's gone, even if you may not have good feelings about him, to be able to say, you know what, your dad would be proud of you. I wish your dad could have seen that. He would have loved to have seen you do that today. To push to the father. That's hard for mothers. And it's not absolute. Yes, the relationship can still be there, but his orientation needs to be toward the father, toward the other men, toward the fraternity of men. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Mothers need to push away. The fraternity of men. Boys need to be accepted and respected by the other men. You think about the Jewish process of the bar mitzvah. That is the calling of the boy from boyhood into manhood. You think about primitive cultures. The process there is, son, today's the day you come out with the other men and you are going to kill your first animal in the hunt, bring that food back for the community, and they're going to eat it. Okay? When he comes back from that and he sees the community eating what he brought, he is a different kid. He's not a kid anymore, he's a man, because he did what men do. And the other men affirmed that. Okay? That is huge for little boys. And it happens at various levels. Boys need to be brought in and welcomed into the fraternity of men. In fact, I'll tell you this, and this is very interesting, that Margaret Mead, the famous anthropologist, she says, it is true that women create humanity, but only men create manhood. That men create manhood, and manhood isn't a naturally occurring thing. When you leave boys to themselves without the direction and help and development of other men, guess what? Gangs. They take that male energy and it either feminizes them in the sense of, and I hate to even call it that, but they get withdrawn, or they become overly aggressive, overly violent, because they haven't had that male nature subdued, culturized, socialized within them by responsible good men. Fathers need and men need to pull the children to them. That's a very important balance with kids in middle age or middle school and a little bit beyond. Mom needs to let go. Fathers need to pull toward them. You're becoming a man. I'm a man. You need to start identifying with me. Uncles need to do that. Fathers need to do that. Grandfathers need to do that. Coaches need to do that. Boy Scout leaders need to do that. The boy needs to associate and identify, I'm becoming like you are. And he needs to be told that. Even when they're different kind of guys. Okay? I'm artistic, I'm creative. The men need to say, let me tell you what's masculine, what's manly about what you just did with, an art project or something like that. Again, go back to the Mikhail Baryshnikov sort of thing. We need to see that there's masculine ways to do seemingly feminine things. What do girls need? We're going to rush through this real quick. They need to see that they're capable and not victims. They need to see that they're strong without being overly strong and dominant. They need to know that they're the most important person in the world to a good man. I think that's the number one thing with my girls, is for them to know that there's a man in the world that will do anything for them, will hurt anybody who tries to hurt them. Because I'll do that. If your boyfriend, if he's ever mean to you, let me know. I'll rough him up. And they'll know that, okay, Dad's joking, but he's serious as well. They need protection and security. They need confidence with boys. They need to be able to deal with boys well, and they learn that from having confidence with their dad. Girls who are well-fathered are girls who know how to deal with boys and are not intimidated or used or manipulated by boys. They mother, they give care, modesty we talked about. They need community, and they need to be encouraged to be able to live in community and be with their friends and to be a leader within their community. Be one of those people that solves, that brings peace. Be one of those people that brings the group together. That's very important for women to be able to learn to be women. They need to talk, and they need to talk things out, and they need to communicate in that way. And they need to have, the man needs the good called out of him, the woman needs the beauty called out of her. And not just the physical outward, oh, you look nice today, but you know what? You look nice today, but you have a beauty that is in you even when you're just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. There's just something about you, Sophie, Tess, that is just beautiful. And I see it, and it's there, and you need to know it's there as well. She wants to be desired. Okay. So what do girls need? She needs that identity, and she needs to have that relationship with mom where it goes from mom to hopefully best friend. My mom's my best friend. Jackie, her mom's passed away now since 2 years. They talked every day on the phone. Okay? It's rare that a boy will talk to his dad every day, even if that dad is the most important person to him. Girls need that. They need to have that closeness with mom. Mothers need to be friends. Dads, they need to see dad have, and I think this is very important, that twinkle in his eye for her. And we all know it when we see it. Like, you know what? I love, love, love seeing you. You still excite me every time I see you, every time we talk. And you as a girl are very important to me as a guy. And I tell my little girls, even when you're married, I'm still going to have to be the most important guy in your life. And your husband's just going to have to deal with that, you know? And they know I'm kidding, but they know I'm not kidding in that way. Fathers need to honor and protect their girls. And that builds, surprisingly, it doesn't make them weaker, it makes them stronger. When they know that this man cares for me, protects me, he'll do anything for me, and I have that confidence. And most of all, a mother is not a father, and a father is not a mother, and both mothers and fathers, as different kind of beings, bring essential things to the parenting process that the other cannot. Now, does that mean if a child is growing up without a dad, growing up without a mom, that they're sunk? No. We have President Clinton, President Obama. They were raised in mother-only families. They did pretty well. But as most single moms know, it's difficult. And so moms and dads who are raising kids by themselves, you have to make some adjustments and try to bring a male influence into your home, a female influence into your home, so that your children can benefit from those sorts of things. But it is important, we cannot think that all we have is parents, generic parents, and all parents are the same. No, just as it takes a male and a female to create the new children and their distinction cooperates with one another, it's the same thing with raising every one of those children. A uniqueness, they enhance and they cooperate together to create little boys who turn into great men and little girls who turn into great women. And that is the human process that every generation needs mothers and fathers, men and women, to participate